I'm Tegan Mason.
I'm Carson Hamill.
I'm Andrew Odden.
On behalf of Mason Ox Ranch.
From everyone here at Odden Charlet.
And on behalf of the Scattered Star Ranch.
From our family to yours.
From the Phillip community, I just want to say thank you.
We thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you, the consumers.
We thank you for choosing beef.
Thank you for choosing beef.
Everyone says they want to change the world.
But not everyone will.
We are not everyone.
I'm Tegan Mason.
I'm Carson Hamill.
I'm Andrew Odden.
On behalf of Mason Ox Ranch.
From everyone here at Odden Charlet.
And on behalf of the Scattered Star Ranch.
From our family to yours.
From the Phillip community, I just want to say thank you.
We thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you, the consumers.
We thank you for choosing beef.
Thank you for choosing beef.
Everyone says they want to change the world.
But not everyone will.
We are not everyone.
I'm Tegan Mason.
I'm Carson Hamill.
I'm Andrew Odden.
On behalf of Mason Ox Ranch.
From everyone here at Odden Charlet.
And on behalf.
Join the team and take on your legacy. Since 1862, the South Dakota Army National Guard has been ready to defend our freedom and our way of life. When our nation calls, we are there to help our friends, neighbors, and communities in the event of forest fires, floods, tornadoes, and severe winter storms right here in South Dakota. Now we want you to write the next chapter in our rich history of the South Dakota Army National Guard. Visit their Facebook and Instagram pages or nationalguard.com/SD.
At A&W, it's called the original Bacon Double Cheeseburger because we invented it. You're welcome, world. 100% U.S. beef, crispy hickory smoked bacon, invented and perfected here. Not to mention, it's just better with made fresh A&W root beer. At participating restaurants, prices may vary. Tax extra.
Paraboom's Cafe, your hometown family restaurant since 1976, going on 4 generations of quality, friendly service, always here for you and your family. We serve locally ground burger from Jorgensen's Meat, never frozen and hand-pattied right here in our own kitchen. Paraboom's Cafe has our very own soup Nazi Mitch, who creates tasty, good-for-your-soul soups daily. And of course, a Paraboom's breakfast like our popular scrap pile or the famous Parma rolls will cure any morning blues you may have, all while being treated graciously from one of our kind staff. Paraboom's Cafe. Go Bearcats!
Limestone canyons, flowing waterfalls, and pristine beauty make Spearfish a sanctuary for those seeking the ultimate escape. Outdoor enthusiasts will find top-notch sport climbing, mountain biking, and UTV OHV trails. Guests are steps away from peaceful hiking trails and tranquil streams. Relax and rehash your day's adventure at one of our award-winning local breweries. Finding rest is an important part of any adventure. Lodging in Spearfish comes with a variety of choices, from cabins, B&Bs, and campgrounds to the comforts of your popular brand-name hotels. To find your unique adventure in Spearfish, go to visitspearfish.com now.
A membership with Sioux Valley Co-op will benefit you. Simply put, a membership with Sioux Valley Co-op is ownership. They're owned and controlled by members. No outside investors. So all of their annual revenues go back to their customers. Become a member today. You will benefit.
Sioux Valley Co-op. Your energy needs with service guaranteed.
A membership with Sioux Valley Co-op will benefit you. Simply put, a member...
We hope you are all enjoying the student productions of your school. Tonight's event and every event produced by your school during the school year are created, filmed, and produced by the students you love to follow and support. Become a booster of your school's live event coverage by becoming a sponsor. It's a great way to show your support of the athletes and students in your community. As a sponsor, you'll get great visibility for your business, organization, or family by supporting the live productions of your school. We hope you are
world-class service with hometown friendliness. That's what you can expect from the staff of Haler Automotive. We sell new vehicles from both Chevrolet and Buick, along with a good selection of late-model pre-owned vehicles. And if you're looking for something a little more vintage, come take a look at our classic car showroom, Highway 12 Classics. We have a full service department, parts department, and a body shop. We're conveniently located East Highway 12 in Webster, or view all of our inventory online at HalerAuto.com.
Partnering with champions. RDO does that. Whether it's on the farm, the football field, or in the backyard, RDO prides itself on partnering with champions. For over 100 years, John Deere has been a champion of building the finest compact tractors available. Let RDO Equipment Company be your compact tractor sales and service champion. Plus, with 0% financing available, there's never been a better time to purchase your next compact tractor. Don't miss your chance to discover the RDO Equipment Company difference for yourself. Visit RDOequipment.com to find a dealer near you.
Winning isn't everything, it's how you play the game that counts. If your values tell you the same, let's start a new conversation about money. At Thrivent Financial, we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Because it's not just about making more, it's about doing more. For your family, church, and community. Call Webster Thrivent Financial today at 605-345-3635.
The Galley Hotel Bar and Grill is on Highway 12 in Webster. Comfortable, non-smoking rooms and their steakhouse and bar are open 7 days a week with the grill opening daily at 5 p.m. Daily specials and popular Wings Wednesdays with over 14 sauces with traditional bone-in or boneless wings. Thursdays feature Chislick special night and their slow-cooked prime rib is served on Friday and Saturday nights. Check them out on Facebook or call 605-345-9989 for reservations. The Galley.
I'm Tegan Mason.
I'm Carson Hamill.
I'm Andrew Odden.
On behalf of Mason Knox Ranch.
From everyone here at Odden Charlet.
And on behalf of the Scattered Star Ranch.
From our family to yours.
From the Phillip community, I just want to say thank you. We thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you, the consumers.
We thank you for choosing beef.
Thank you for choosing beef.
Join the team and take on your legacy. Since 1862, the South Dakota Army National Guard has been ready to defend our freedom and our way of life. When our nation calls, we are there to help our friends, neighbors, and communities in the event of forest fires, floods, tornadoes, and severe winter storms right here in South Dakota. Now we want you to write the next chapter in our rich history of the South Dakota Army National Guard. Visit their Facebook and Instagram pages or nationalguard.com/SD.
At A&W, it's called the original Bacon Double Cheeseburger because we invented it. You're welcome, world. 100% US beef.
We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everybody would stand and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, if I could get a motion to approve the agenda with one modification, to move public communications to after the community meeting -boiler/CTE project. Thank you, Marty. Second? Second. Thank you, Joel. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Conflicts disclosure? None? All right, we'll go ahead and we'll move right into the community meeting on the boiler/CTE project. First of all, on behalf of the board and the patrons of Webster, thank you very much for coming tonight. I'm sure there's many other places people would rather be than coming to their favorite school board meeting on a Monday night at 7 o'clock. But it's nice to see everybody here. I'm confident that there's a lot of good opinions and we're looking forward to hearing from them. The structure of the meeting here tonight will be that Joel Shoemaker and Larry Jareva, as you have followed on Bearcat TV and Reporter and Farmer, have been our lead project managers as part of the board. They will be controlling the majority of the presentation here tonight, handling the information. In addition, we have Patty Munson here with us tonight, 1979? 80, apologize, age by a year. 1980 graduate of Webster High School. In addition, I have Toby Morris here with our financing from Collier Securities, correct? Toby is out of Pierre, South Dakota, has extensive knowledge into financing obligations at the state, municipal, and school board level. In addition, we have Jim and Lori back here to help assist with any questions that the group may have. I would ask that you hold your questions as much as possible to the end. We will make sure that we get a chance to have as much of give and take as we can. That's a good public meeting so that people can have an opportunity to give us your thoughts, opinions, and concerns. With that being said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Joel and Larry.
All right. Can everybody hear us okay down here, or should we be using the microphone? We're good? All right. I'm Joel Shoemaker, for those of you that don't know me. I just thought, before we get kind of going here tonight, I just want to walk through a little bit of the history as to how we got to where we're at tonight. And then, once I get through a few things, Larry may have a few things, and then we'll kind of turn it over and let Patty walk through the renditions up here and give everybody a feel for what we're proposing, and then, you know, like Tom said, we can go ahead and do some questions and answers. I started on the school board about 7 years ago, and on my first budget meeting in July 7 years ago, this boiler topic was an issue. It wasn't as pressing as it is today, but we knew that it was coming. And 7 years ago, the board was already starting to think about a project and save money in reserve, knowing that someday we were going to have to do this. You know, year after year, the operational cost of the boiler is going up. The repair costs are starting to add up substantially. We're spending anywhere from $1,000 a month, maybe $2,500 a month, or as we're going to see Wednesday night at our regular board meeting, $12,150, I believe it is, this past month. So our monthly cost of ownership of this boiler is going up continually. I believe, Jim, it's 3 or 4 days this year so far that we've actually been without the boiler's been down. So I'm just trying to set the stage a little bit that the problem's getting worse, and we know that we need to do something with it. When we talk about the CTE program, we started that approximately 4 years ago, and that program has hit the ground running. The programs are full. When they're not full, sometimes it's more to do with a scheduling issue than whether or not the kids want to participate. They want to be in it, but sometimes we have some scheduling issues. It's been a very successful addition to the curriculum here at Webster area, and we believe in it passionately. The current board has appointed Larry and I to the building committee, and we've been working with Jim and Lori for the past, year and a half. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of meetings. Trying to come up with a plan, trying to come up with a budget, just trying to, find that good fit. So about 18 months ago, the board decided that we should get proposals from a couple different engineering and architectural firms, and we solicited Architecture Inc. and ISG. We asked them to come in, evaluate our facilities, talk to staff, get a feel for, how our facilities, what kind of shape they were in, what our needs are. That was quite a process. They were here, a week apiece, I would say, kind of looking over the facilities and talking to staff. At the time, it seemed like AI dove into our current needs, and ISG was looking more at the entire campus, kind of that 30-year plan. This board, the current board that you have sitting here tonight, we voted on that. We voted 4-1 to go with Architecture Inc. The lone no vote did vote to move forward with ISG. So I just wanted to kind of show a pattern that, we've been talking about this. This has been in the paper. It's been on Bearcat TV. This is, how we've been leading up to tonight. Those initial proposals showed a cost of $1.62 million to install a boiler in the existing boiler room and retrofit the piping in our old 1950s wing. And I should just back up and give a little history there. The 1950s wing uses steam heat, whereas the rest of the facility uses hot water heat. So we have to heat the water, the old boiler heats the water up to a steam, it heats that building, comes back in, we cool it down to hot water to take care of the rest of the facility. So it's fairly inefficient. So that's why we would have to do the retrofitting of the pipes. They also said that the electrical system was in disarray in that addition. We know that. We have a lot of day-to-day issues down there, so we knew that the wiring in that facility was probably not going to be capable to go along with the new boiler as well. That we never did go down that road to get a cost on that. We just knew that it was going to be substantial. As the board moved through the process, it became clear that we might be throwing good money at a bad investment. So that's when we started looking into, we were looking at a $3 to $4 million project just to update the existing 1950s wing. You may hear us call it this old CTE wing, the old VOTEC wing. But we were looking at $3 to $4 million to replace the boiler, repipe the building, get the electrical updates done, and that would leave us with an old, inefficient 1950s building. As a lot of you may know, our current CTE program is happening down at the Development Corporation. We pay annual lease to the Development Corporation. We pay for monthly busing, whether we use it or not. We have to pay the busing. The miscellaneous utilities, we do cover those as well down at that site. And so those costs are over $60,000 annually that we're spending at the old CTE building downtown. Another thing we've got to look at is the safety of our students. Right now, we have sort of an open campus where the kids are traveling back and forth, and we got to face it in today's day and age. We need to have control. We need to have the safety of our students is number one priority. So I'm throwing a lot at you, and I hope everybody's, kind of keep it up and feel free to ask questions as we go along here, but I'm going to keep going. As we move through the design process, we had to start forming the budget. We enlisted Toby Morris here of Colliers, as the district has worked with him in the past. And so Larry and Lori, Jim and myself had a meeting with him initially, and then we invited him to a board meeting to discuss options. Kind of I call it the industry standard, but it's more the educational standard. They always say that you should spend less than 45% of your capital outlay budget on building payments. And so we kind of went in with that 40% or less. Let's stay under it. And that's where that's, you'll hear the number floating around the community of $9 to $9.5 million. That's where it came from. That's what our district can currently service. We can currently service that debt under our current capital outlay budget without raising taxes. So that's where that $9 to $9.5 million came from. Another thing that we're watching is this COVID money. As everybody knows, school districts and cities and municipalities all over the country are getting COVID money, and we still don't know exactly how much we're going to get, when we're going to get it, those sort of things. But we believe that we're going to get somewhere in that $600,000 to $1 million range. And so the board has found itself asking ourselves, how can we use these funds now and realize the benefit of that in 20 to 30 years? How can we spend that money now and still see the benefits of it 20, 30 years down the road? Larry and I have met a couple of times with a community group that was comprised of members from the ag sector, business leaders, city of Webster folk, development corporation people, and people from the farming community. And they've had input. They've had a lot of input on our plans. I mean, we've taken their input, tweaked things, and Larry and Jim and I were talking with Patty at 5 o'clock on Friday night, still making adjustments to this plan. I mean, this has been quite a process. After all those countless meetings and in person and on Zoom and teleconferences over the last year and a half, we've come up with a proposal that Patty's going to show us tonight. As she's going to show you, we're looking at installing the new boiler, adding a Cte wing, remodeling a little bit of our office space, reorganizing our special education classes and center base area, because those would be removed as part of the demo project, and then possibly a small remodel of the wrestling room, and just a few other minor fix-up deals, just kind of little things, little nuisance problems that we've had around the building. I guess with that, if it's all right with you, Patty, I'd like to turn it over to you, and we'll kind of just walk everybody through what we've come up with.
Yes, comment. In the plan that Patty's going to go through here, we pretty much addressed the educational needs of the school. We haven't addressed the fine arts, the gymnasium space, that type thing, community space, that type thing. It's strictly narrowing it down to what we can afford and address basically the educational phase.
That's a good point. And with the plan that we're proposing, and we'll get into that, we would have options if need be down the road, we can do some other additional things.
That's good. All right, can you guys hear me okay?
If we need the mic, let us know. We can get it for you.
Yeah, I'd like to stand up here a little bit so I hope everybody can see or has picked up a plan, but I'd like to be able to kind of point things out as we talk about the plan. As Joel mentioned, we've been meeting for quite some time, considering a lot of different options. We've gotten a lot of good input from the educators and administration here, trying to incorporate as much as we can within our budget. So what we've tried to do here is, just like every district, you can't afford everything you want all at once. So we're trying to build what we can now, plan for the future so that whenever that second phase comes along, we've planned for it and we've got room for it, and things will work out as they should. So what I have up here on the screen right now is what we would mentioned all the safety and security issues. Accessibility for people coming and going from the school is important as well, and we've got places we need to solve that. So we'll just kind of start walking you through the plan here. Just to orientate you, north is up. Main Street is right over here. We're sitting right in the gym here. So as Joel mentioned, the boiler, not a very glamorous part of the project, but we're going to get that taken care of as part of this project. The CTE wing will be down on the south end, kind of corridor lined up with the existing corridor. This space would house the ag, welding, family and consumer science. It would also bring building trades and wood shop back to this campus, which I think is really important. Also have a few other classrooms in there. Robotics would be in that wing, some storage, that sort of thing. Here's the east parking lot, kind of the main parking lot, and we would be creating a new high school entry right here. That would be a secure entry, so anybody coming and going would have to come through that entry, check in at the reception before they can enter the building. So with that area, we would be combining the administration and business office. Right now, the business office is right up in this area. Mr. Block's office is down here. We've got guidance here, so people are kind of spread all over the building. It works much better for these folks to be housed in one area. They work together every day, and they do that much better if they're adjacent to each other. So we would move them into this space here. One of the other items that we wanted to address is the special needs programs. Those as well are separated out a little bit. We've got middle school and high school special education classrooms over here. The center-based program is up here in the vocational wing. That area of the building is not accessible, so those students have a kind of a challenging time, getting in and out of the building. So those three programs together, they can share a lot of spaces, life skills classrooms, some conference space, special needs restrooms, that sort of thing. So we've managed to group those together kind of right in this area. We'll take over the business office for the center-based program, and they'll have their own entry right here. High school special education would be in this area, with middle school right across the hall. So those three spaces that work together all the time, then we have some good adjacencies and could share some things together. Let's see, over here in the elementary area, middle school offices, again there, now that entry is not accessible to the public. When you come in the front door, there are steps there, so we would be working to solve that issue and making this an accessible entry here. Remodeling that office space, giving them a little bit more room, a little bit larger conference room, that sort of thing. And then probably the final part of the project is up here in the northeast corner where the existing vocational wing is, and the wrestling room, family and consumer science is up there right now. What we're looking at doing as part of phase one, we would be demolishing this gray area of the existing building, and we would be keeping the original gymnasium, which is now the wrestling room, stage, their weight rooms right here. And as part of that, we would create a couple of new locker rooms up in this area, which would be on the main floor. They would be accessible and shared by the gym up here, the wrestlers, and there would be an entry up here on the north end where visiting teams could make use of those locker rooms as well. So we tried to, kind of take advantage and make the best use of the spaces that we already have, and build, basically maximize what we have and minimize new construction. So that's what we work to do under the phase 1 project.
Just to follow up a couple things, part of the reason I'm moving all the business offices to that new area, one is to streamline our operations, and number two, we would raise the existing high school parking lot. We would flatten it out so we had a zero access, handicap accessible main entrance as part of the solution there. But one of the big hazards we would be eliminating is the current entrance by Dr. Block's office here. We've got some steps coming up. Not only are the steps dangerous, they are a nightmare for our custodial staff to try to maintain in the wintertime. If you follow our budget for, 3 or 4 years now, we've been talking about having to fix the retaining wall out here along the library. And that's a $30,000 to $40,000 project if my memory is correct. And we've been holding off on that because, we've been thinking maybe someday we'll do something permanent rather than a temporary solution. And the purpose of moving, like Patty said, those special ed classrooms in the center base is we'll be eliminating the center base is currently up in the old vocational wing that, as part of that building, we would have to repipe, and we just don't think that's an efficient use of dollars. So if we can put those all together, like she said, they can share resources, it's a win-win for those folks as well. When you look at the CTE portion of the building there, we've kept the roof line lined up. At one point in time, we had that jogged over. It just didn't make sense to have another jog in the building. We thought we should keep it lined up, and we could save a few dollars on the truss system there as well. And then the little bit of remodel up there on the elementary office is, once again, get rid of those steps. We would have a zero entry down there and have that handicap accessible as well.
So as I mentioned, this would be phase 1, and as we plan for the future, change over to phase 2 here. So in phase 2, and this would probably be up to the public vote if you proceed with something like this, but
Patty, before we dive into that, I want to just do a little more explaining on how we got there. So, what Larry and I, as the building committee, are proposing to the board is to do this phase 1. And like Larry said, that's going to take care of the educational needs immediately, and it's going to take care of our boiler issues immediately. And we could fund it under our current capital outlay budget. We would not have to raise taxes to do that. And if the community wanted to get together with the board and look at a bigger issue, we could take that to, and let the voters decide, take that to a bond issue. And that would affect taxes. I don't know that we know at this point to what extent that may or may not be, but it's an option, and that's what Larry and I love about this plan that we've all formed together, is that we're taking care of the immediate needs under our current budget. And if the community so chose, or the board wanted to go down that path, we have that option. We could go with the bond issue and ask the voters if they would like to do.
No one's displaced either.
That's right. And the way we're sequencing this, nobody gets displaced. Very good. So I kind of wanted to clear that up before you jump into phase 2.
Well, and then I guess probably the one thing everybody wants to know about phase 1 is what does that cost?
Yes.
So the phase 1 project right now, with today's numbers, would be $8.4 million, just under 8.5. And that would include all the site work, the remodeling, new construction, pretty much what you see on that phase 1 project.
mentioned cost of waiting.
Cost of waiting, yes. In the last probably year and a half, materials are down about 25%. And so, in a normal year, we see 3 to 5% increase in costs. In the last year, we've seen much higher. Even by the time we bid this, materials could increase another 10%. So they're not going down.
Right.
So anyway, with that, we can kind of share a little bit about this phase 2. So under the phase 2 project, kind of everything north of the this corner would come down. And then you would have space to provide a new wrestling room, some changing rooms, a new lobby, auxiliary gym, some more changing rooms up here. And along with that, have space across the street here. We have to vacate the street. But we could provide a new performing arts center. Changing rooms for them, dressing rooms, I guess, and a scene shop, and a lobby of this existing east side of the building. So that could be a potential, phase 2 project there. And that number is a little higher yet. So today's numbers for that project would be $12,460,000. So that would be for the new work up in the northeast corner.
How much is the seating for that amount?
The seating, that would seat 500. I don't know if any of you have been over to Ipswich, but they have a 500-seat theater over there, and this would be, we're kind of modeling it after that one. It's got a stage. 500 seats. They use this for many different things. Obviously theater, but music programs. They have their vocal in there, practice and everything. So multi-purpose room for the community and the school.
And I want to just mention to the board, we're not proposing phase 2 at this point. We're simply saying that it is it's an option. What we're going to be proposing is the phase 1, knowing that there is a possibility of phase 2 if the community or we wanted to get behind that. We just wanted to lay it out and show that the option is available.
Right, and this is obviously just an option that we developed. It certainly could change in the future as you guys decide, what you would like to pursue.
With phase 1, we're not tying our hands for what phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4 would affect any of that.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility for the future.
I have a question. So if we just do phase 1 and then we go into phase 2, how much are we wasting with phase 1 that we could use on phase 2?
That's a really good question. The answer is time. If the community wanted to move forward with phase 2, we have a year before we would, to get into that, the wrestling room, the CT, the old 1950s wing. That's a year down the road. So if we were to know in a year, we wouldn't spend any money on that end. If it were to be approved, Roland, if phase 2 were to be approved, and we knew in time, we wouldn't spend a dime down there.
Phase 1 is still a minimal cost. That would have to be when you
then
say.
I got a follow-up question. Did I understand correctly that phase 1 is 8.4, give or take? So is phase 2 an additional 4 million or
No,
12
20.
million?
12. It's an additional 12.
20 total,
Okay.
what you're thinking.
So it would be 20 million. Okay. I'm kind of old.
You know, one other thing that we haven't talked about here yet this evening is interest rates. That's another reason why we're looking at the big picture, is interest rates are as low as, I think, they're find out shortly. Yeah, we'll find out shortly, but that makes a big difference on a project this size. The interest has a huge net effect. And so that plays in. And we can maybe go into that a little bit here with Toby too. Do you have any predictions or, you know, kind of where we're at right now? I like to roll you under the bus.
I think when you're at the lowest, there's only one way they're going to go, and that's the Feds have already indicated this coming winter, spring, we're going to start seeing an upward tick. Now, what the Omicron does, I don't know. But I can tell you, if you issued debt today, you'd be fixed for 20 years at less than 2%. It's almost free money in a lot of ways.
Okay, I got a question right now. Because 2% is not free money. I mean, let's not deceive the public here. You already started, you're going to borrow, you don't have $8 million, you're going to borrow it. Correct?
A certain portion we wouldn't know at this point yet.
20 years.
Yep.
Correct?
Correct.
So, my point being, I sat on this board for a long time, and I see what happens, what are you going to do if enrollment starts to decline? Have you done any of those scenarios? Because if you borrow outlay certificates, I don't think any you five guys have the right to borrow $8 million without the public voting on it. That's a tremendous amount of money.
So, you've thrown a lot at us, so let us come back with some answers here. Okay. When you talk about enrollment, Mark, our enrollment does this, as you know. I mean, kids, they come and they go, and it all depends on who's here on September the 30th. Our enrollment has been up, you know, the last 5 fiscal years. 22's number is 534, that's up 6 from 21. You know, our average enrollment is 515, and I think the bigger question that we need to ask, Mark, is, as you know, we have to sometimes have to transfer a certain amount out of capital outlay. We don't control that.
That's right.
State does, as you know.
Yes. When your enrollment starts to decline, you're going to have to start transferring more money. If you would even drop by 30 students with open enrollment now, you just can't predict.
Well, actually,
actually,
Mark, because last year we were at 504. We're going to make sure we got statistics right. Lori, last year's enrollment? 504. This year's enrollment, 534. Lori, how much did you transfer from capital outlay to general enrollment? $0. No, this is important. $0. So saying if our enrollment drops by 30, we're in trouble, is not right. Last year we dropped by 30. We transferred $0. Let me be very clear about this board. We are fiscally conservative. This is not a spendthrift board. Ever since I got on this board, when you were president, Kathy Mellon was here, I was taught fiscal conservatism. We dropped our capital outlay call year after year after year. That was not always a 5-0 vote. We have had, out of the last 5 years, 3 where we transferred $0. 0. In addition, when it comes to the numbers, this year, we did not raise taxes 1 penny. On behalf of, sir, the Webster School Board, you may laugh, but the statistics, the votes, the exact same levy that we called for last year in 2020-21 was the exact same levy we called for in 2021 2022. Now, if your valuation goes up because of what the county does, if the state of South Dakota decides that the general fund is going to be funded different, none of the 5 individuals that sit on this board, whether it's Mark Hansen, Kathy Mellon, Rob Knight, Jamie Reitz, Tom Sanis, none of us have any control over it. The Webster Area School Board did not raise taxes 1 cent last year. We did not, sir, and I will bet you the farm on that one, because it's a fact. This plan right now is to keep it under those numbers. Now, second of all, you also mentioned we have no legal right. And so I like it when people say legal rights. I'm a lawyer. You did, you said that. So, Mr. Hanson, that's like me saying you have no idea what beef is. I mean, or me saying no idea what beef is. I'm never going to argue with you about beef. But I will have beef when you tell me what the law is.
I know what the law is.
The law is, just so everybody is aware, school boards have to spend money, as do cities, as do counties, as does the state, as do our federal government. A school board has 98.5%, where we have to keep it 98.5%. If we go over 1.5%, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Morris, it can be referred. So what we're talking about is 98.5% of our assessed value, we're leaving alone. This current number under 8 million or 8.4 million, we're probably looking at, based upon 2021 tax dollars, give or take 1.3%. So now you're talking 98.7%. You need to recognize, yes, 8 million sounds like a lot of money. I will also tell you that if somebody only makes $40,000 in their career, $50,000 is a lot of money. $60,000 is a lot of money. Just like beauty, a lot of money is in the eye of the beholder. Now, I wish we didn't have to spend one nickel. That would be nice, because then we could put funds to other options. But again, Joel and Larry have done a lot of good work. I'm just going to put this out right now, Mark. I believe in this community. I believe, no, you got to let me finish because I gave you your time. I believe in the future. I walk up and down Main Street, Webster. It was put in the paper whether we have needs or wants. Needs or wants. CTE is a need. It is our future. I wish I saw more men and women walking up Main Street, Webster, wearing a shirt and tie. But I don't. But every day, I see people down at the gas station. I see people in the grocery stores. I see people in the restaurants that make a living with their hands. And they make a doggone good living. And that's what our country's missing right now. We dropped the ball as a community, state, and nation when we got away from VOTEC. A lot of us that are here in our 50s grew up with VOTEC. We grew up with the vocational center. Life changed in the 1990s and the 2000s when everybody said, everybody's got to go to a four-year college. That's the wrong answer. My brother Bob was never meant for a four-year college. My father, not even close. And everybody here that knows him knows I'm right on that. And he was 10 times smarter than I am. What he could do when he worked for Webster Scale back in the day was amazing. CTE is a need. It's not a want. And don't kid yourself. That's what other communities are looking at. And I'll ask you, Toby, to chime in. Look, open your neighbor's competing newspaper. Look at what the Britain Journal had as their headline last week. New Ag Program for LA, Langford area. Why? Langford area wants a football team. Flat out, they want a football team. They had it in their newspaper that in order to attract more boys to their school, they would get a better ag program. Smart move on their part. Kudos for them. You can't blame a community for trying to take care of itself. When it comes to CTE, today what we're talking about, it's a need. Wants, you're darn right. They should go to the vote of the people. But when it comes to taking care of the educational needs, as Larry put it, that's what we're taking care of.
Well, CTE is more than just vocation.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And 2%, it's not free money, but if anybody here tells me we're going to get cheaper money down the road, I'd like to visit with them.
You know, Mark, I want to ask you a question. You know I respect your opinions. Are we better off as a board to sit here and wait and continue to let our facilities deteriorate, watch costs go up and interest go up? I think, Mark, we're doing the responsible thing here, trying to maintain. I really believe that.
All of what you said is true. It really doesn't matter. When you take the district into debt to that amount of money, my view is, and I think a view of a lot of the taxpayers, is they should have a vote in it. If it does a hell of a speech. If anybody voted no after that time,
but Mark,
my point is, you're going to take the district into debt for 20 years, and you could. There's a lot of different things. There's reasons that boards should not do that. Because, number one, you could have 5 people.
I love it. You can go.
5 people sitting on that board that want to buy a $5 million luxury activity bus. They could do it. No, they might think it's a good idea, but is it a good idea? Don't get me wrong, I think this project's a good idea. All I'm saying is, when you borrow that amount of money, and only when you're borrowing money, the public should get a vote on it. That's all I'm saying.
Mark, my response to you is, we're looking at spending, as Tom said, less than 1.5% of our valuation.
Correct.
I think the voters have voted. They've elected us 5 to spend their money wisely. And that's why we're having this meeting tonight, is to tell you folks how we've come up with these facts and figures. I think that our current proposal, we're addressing our needs, our educational needs, and our maintenance issues. And anything over and above that, the voters are going to decide.
What I'm going to do is, before I get going, because I stepped off the path there. Go ahead, Larry. Question over there.
The only thing I have to say is, I maintain the boiler every day. This last week and a half, we have been looking for a leak. It's taken us a week and a half to find the leak. So we've lost 60 gallons a week or a day for the last week until we found the leak. It is not easy. Since I started, we have been promised a new boiler system. I know when Dan was here, he was promised a new boiler system. This is not a new issue. It's been an issue that we have let go for too long. That is what I have to say on that.
Go a little more with that.
And that's just one part of it, but that's a main part. When we started school this fall, we were waiting on parts for this boiler to get the key into this building. Yes, it was maintainable, kids had to wear their coats, but when you have to go 2 weeks waiting on boiler parts, that's not a good thing for our kids.
To go a little further with what you said, our 50s wing is headed the way of the oil. We all understand that. It is 70 years old. You know, and that's going to require maintenance. We've got some costs of maintenance, and that's one of the reasons we're looking at.
Use your microphone.
You gotta speak up. Oh.
Can you use the mic, Larry? Tom, I think.
So let me just say a couple things. What Larry was saying is, and you can refer back, when we first had ISG and AI come in to give us proposals as to what we should do, ISG, as Joel alluded to, was very much into, they make a living off of remodels, I would think would be the best way of describing it. And their subject matter expert, I forget his name, but he had managed facilities for a large district in Minnesota. He came in, did the analysis. It would have been in ISG's best interest if that subject matter expert would have said, I think you should remodel your 1950s wing. Flat out, it would have been in his best interest for his company. That expert was asked, and I don't remember if it was Marty or if it was Larry or who it was, but one of the board members said at the conclusion of the presentation, would you invest the money in a remodel? And their subject matter expert looked us in the eye and said, no, I would not do it. You will not capture the savings. It would be a bad investment. I will throw out, and again, we'll get to the list here so we get everybody a chance to speak. But if I'm going to go buy beef, I talk to the expert, and then I buy what he recommends. If I go to my doctors, my accountants, I want to take their advice. I feel like this board has done its due diligence in that we asked ISG, we had AI, we just didn't have one firm come in, we had competing firms, we had competing ideas. ISG's own expert said, don't do it. And he shook our hands and walked out knowing he had walked away from business. I think that's important to remember. Now, with that being said, we've kind of gotten through the public communications, or excuse me, the presentation. We'll have a good give and take. I get fired up. Sometimes I get off track. I apologize. I like to debate. With that being said, for those that signed up, I'm going to make sure that we give you a chance to speak. And again, if there's other people in the crowd that didn't get a chance to speak but have heard something, if you raise your hand, we'll try to make sure that we can get you. What I would ask is that if you are going to speak, maybe if we can hear you from where you're sitting, that's fine. But if we can't hear you, we're going to have you come on down and grab the microphone, okay? So the first, I'm just going right down the list. The first person I got on the list is Jamie Reeves.
I don't think I can use the mic. Again, my name is Jamie Reeves. I was a 9-year board member. I think every year I spent was with Mr. Hansen and most of this board. First of all, a little bit on the boiler. Once again, we should apologize. The boiler's been coming for a long time. Joel said 7, 9, 2, 10. The boiler's been coming. It's no big secret. Everybody knows it. It's been in the papers. There was a reason, and this is the reason that we held off on the boiler, and Joel did a fantastic job going through the levels of what we tried. We wanted it. And, you know, first it was going to be $1 million, then 2. It kept going up, and it was a humongous project. And to do the boiler alone, it was very hard, and obviously it was hard because many boards went through it. Everybody, we started putting money on it, but we just didn't want to just fix the boiler and do that because we knew we had bigger issues. The ag wing, I went there 30 years ago. There's probably a lot of people that went there 50 years ago. When we first started looking at the ag wing, it's no big, the hallway space in the ag wing and the shop, there's more space in the hallways than there is in the room. It's kind of ridiculous, and the heating and the bills. So I'm not going to go through everything Joel went through, but this has been coming for a long time. It was a project in the making. We waited and waited. We have one thing that hasn't been said, and it was probably our debt load is coming down. It's almost to an end. We started, years ago, they did the elementary. Then we did the Braun wing, the middle school. Done. Now we're on to the high school, and I don't think we have much left on this last project. Within a few years, I believe the Webster School District is going to be pretty much debt-free. Is that correct, Lori? And that's what everybody has to understand. So Mark talks about 30 students. You think about our current payments that we're already making on this facility right here that is almost complete. So that also frees up money that can be put towards this. 2% is no joke. I'm not saying, but there isn't many things we can go out and get 2% on, especially on a $8 $1 million project. It definitely, it interest costs on everything we do. This is the time. I was actually surprised. I had talked to Joel. I talked to Joel a week or so ago, and I talked to Lori a week ago. I had not seen this. They'd actually made it smaller. When I first came in and looked at it, I was like, whoa. I personally expected more. you read the paper, you know, and I know it would be a $22 million project if they did the whole thing. That's not what they're proposing. They made it very need-central. I personally, if I was one of those, I would have had more on there. Because I think the whole thing is needs. I really do. Especially at the current price, one load. I'd love to do it all. They have got it dummy down to as low as it can get. And I respect Mark saying he should let the public. But again, we elect board members to make tough decisions. And these guys, they're going to make a decision. $8-9 million to me is nothing. I think I live in the city of Webster right now. Did not water and sewer just pass a bond for $7 million that I don't think I got to vote on? And they passed it on to me. My bill went up like almost all yours, but that was a need. It had to be done. And that's okay in my opinion. It might not be okay in everybody's opinion. I think this is a good project. I think the first one is a no-brainer. I love everything else. I hope Phase B, Plan B, goes into effect. But that's up to everybody else if it comes to Plan B. But as far as A goes, it's been a long time coming. I am one person. I support it. I think it's great for a lifelong guy in Webster that now is a son back farming. I think the CT wing, the ag wing, and everything added here is definitely a must-do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Roland, did you have other comments you'd like to make?
I just wrote my name down.
I like it. All right. Thank you very much.
For now.
Okay.
You're in the pot for a drawing later.
Well,
who gets to sweep the floor?
All I would say is, I think the whole project is a good project. It's a lot of money, but we're on the lowest end of the interest that we're ever going to see. And, you know, like the CTE, I don't know if we've gotten that many guys out in the field, but we will. It'll come around. The biggest thing is construction industry is a hard business, and our next generation doesn't really want to work that hard, and they don't have to. They can make as much money or make a decent living somewhere else. But if we get 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20, that's way more than, it's worth what we're spending on it. And as far as the theater issue, I had discussion about that. And I originally would have said, table it, and we'll work with it in the future. But I had it explained to me correctly as to the need for it, not just the want. And today I believe in that should go along with everything else. And we're not going to get any cheaper. We know that. It would take some dramatic something in the world to bring things down, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm for it. I came in here with a positive attitude, and we're taking care of our community and our children and our future.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you for that. Todd Gary.
I put some thoughts together. A lot of the things I'm going to be saying is pretty much what we've talked about already, that you guys have put together. I'd like to voice my opinion for the addition of the Webster Area School District for the CTE Ag Facts addition. Most of what I talked about is already known to the board, but I believe it needs to be repeated and voiced to the community. There comes a time in the community that the taxpayers of the city, county, and school district need to come together to support the planning. The governing board has worked hard for the benefit of the patrons of that entity. In this case, the school board has been working with Architectural Inc., Patty, to design a CTE Ag Facts wing, which includes classrooms and workrooms for the ag department, fax, welding, and other CTE programs, and fix the long-running problem the district has with the boiler to heat the building, in which we've been lucky that the boiler has not completely broken down. The old vocational wing, built in 1950, and has serviced the district for many years, but is beyond repair. And you guys have talked about that. You've looked into that question, and needs to be upgraded to include other classrooms for the other CTE programs, which has been housed down at the business center, the old water plant. Since their inception, it's been a great progress. It's been a great activity. While the process has been working, it is not the most cost-effective way to teach our students the skills that they will need to benefit them as adults. The busing, rent, and utilities costs could be put towards a capital outlay bond payment to help the district out. In '72, when my family moved to town here, the elementary school building was just completed. There was a need for that building because the existing elementary school building was not safe and needed to be replaced. Then in the early 90s, the middle school addition was built, combining the elementary and the high school. In '03, the patrons of the district, after several failed votes, agreed to a $900,000 bond issue to replace the old high school building. The remaining cost of the 3.7 building was paid for with capital outlay certificates. In each of these instances, the need was assessed that the existing building was not suitable for the education of the students of this district. Now, again, there is a need. With a boiler being cobbled together and thankfully not breaking down on us, the vocational wing, which only houses 3 programs and is just not efficient use of the square footage of that building, and the new CT programs, there is a need for more efficient space. And unfortunately, that space does not come cheap. There's been other major projects the school has worked on over the years, using capital outlay dollars. Remodel the track and the football field, armory additions and remodels, elementary building remodel, they've all come out of capital outlay dollars. We have paid most of those loans down and have the capacity within the 3 mil capital outlay assessment, by the way, which the district does not assess the full 3 mils each year since 2011-2012. The capital outlay dollars can be used to make annual payments on capital outlay certificates totaling, I have 9.5, Patty, you're saying 8.4, as estimated by the engineers. With the removal of the old high school gym, I'm kind of thinking a little bit differently, and the band and chorus room, there will be a need for a new wrestling room. The district has always struggled to schedule gym time, so an auxiliary gym is needed. And for the cultural needs of the students and the community, a theater is needed on the campus of the Webster Area School District. I hope 3 groups can get together along with the school board and the administration, and can prepare plans, cost estimates, and bring to the patrons of the school district a bond vote to build these projects. In closing, I'd like to thank the board for each month. They need to balance the scale of the needs and the benefits of the students of the school district to the concerns of the taxpayers of this district. It's not always an easy task. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Board, do you have an address? Let me know. Let the board know, or whenever it needs to be off. Yep. So, currently, what we have on the books right now, we have 2 notes, correct? One note is what we call QSCB, QSCAP. Those were the funds that were used back in 2008, 09, 10. Obama, what do they call that? With the the money that came out back in 2008 with Obama funds. stimulus back then, stimulus number 1, before COVID and everything else. Our payments on that are currently at $137,000. Okay? That comes off the books in 2027, 2028. The athletic complex, our payment on that is $122,650. That currently comes off the books in 2025, 2026. Our high school building debt, paid 100% in full early. Our bond debt, final $49,920, comes off the books this year, this month. Everything else that we've done, we've paid off. We paid it off early. We do have one other fund. We do have an energy loan, which is due in 2029. When we switched to LED lighting, I think that was Larry's first board meeting, and Larry and I enjoy looking at Northwestern energy bills in each meeting. That is paid in spades for us. That's $22,000 a year, but the savings that we get from LED more than pays what we were originally paying to Northwestern Energy for our electric bill. So that bill is actually self-paying, if it makes sense. That's it. That's what we have on the books.
You need to pass interest rates?
Do you have the interest rates on here? I believe the interest rate on the interest rate on the Q-scabs is paid for by the federal government. And actually we have to put payments into escrow, and technically there's still a chance we might get a refund, I believe, at the end of that, depending on how the government handles that. Am I correct on that, Toby? Okay. The payments that we made on the athletic complex had a blended rate of, cheaters, 2.34%. Yep, that's it, 2.34%. And that's it. The high school was closer to 4% when we did that. Yep, 3.94% even. All right, next I have Mark.
I have one, I just want to clarify one thing.
Perfect time.
I did not mean this as a bad project. My only question is the means of financing.
Well, I would tell you, Mark, too, here's the deal. No matter what the timing is, Lori, how much do we spend each year on a general fund? Our general fund.
About $7.5 million.
Our general fund, ladies and gentlemen, every year, $7.5 million. Every year. What's our special education? I'm gonna really back forward. $7.5 million. There's no way you can ever do a capital project in a district like ours and pay for it in 1 year. You can't. The only way to do it is to do it over 20 years. It's just like asking a kid to go out and say, hey, congratulations, Caleb, you're 22 years old. Go buy yourself a house 100%. That's why they have 30-year mortgages. Most people hopefully get them done in 20-year mortgages. Hopefully we're teaching that in school. But it's 20 years. So that's part of the CT, says Larry, but we can't pay for it in 1 year. By putting it off over 20 years, taking advantage of 1.9%, we give the flexibility to future boards to still do things. All of these funds, I want to be very clear, everything we're proposing tonight is within what we already take in. So I agree, we should go out and buy a $5 million luxury bus. That would be a bad investment of money. I don't think we should do what some other school districts are doing with their COVID money and hiring, might not be the most popular thing with the teachers to say right now, but hiring counselors to fill in for a couple of years and then they're gone. I mean, there are some very creative ways to spend COVID money. Very creative. But we don't want to do one-time use. We want to put that $600,000 to $1 million to use for 5, 10, 15, 20. If this building lasts us 70, I'm 120. I'll be happy to see that. You know, that's what we need to put these funds to use on. Our total budget on special education is $1 million. Our capital outlay budget, 1.7. Right there, folks, I mean, I'm just doing simple math. We're almost at $10.2 million a year, your district. That's what we spend. We've got over 535 students here. We want to grow it. There is a lot of responsibility.
I want to expound on Mark's comment a little bit ago, Mark, about at what dollar value should the board, have that decision-making ability, or when do we pass it off to the taxpayer? Another thing that you got to keep in mind here, and I'm going back through my notes from when we met with ISG, and it'll be on Bearcat TV. As a board, we have to look at the day-to-day cost of the buildings, the year-to-year. We have to forecast. We have to look ahead. And ISG told us that the roof on the 1939 building has to be replaced. That's where a lot of our moisture issues are coming from. They also told us that the 1970 building, i.e. 72, the elementary, they gave it 5 years. They said in 5 years, you're going to be forced with tough decisions on the maintenance over at that building. The 1995 building, which would be the middle school, they told us we have 10 years before we're going to be making tough decisions on that building with doing updating maintenance. And so, it is the board's job to best manage your tax dollars and maintain these facilities. And I think that the plan that Larry and I have brought forward to the board is addressing the needs, the things that we need to do today to keep the day-to-day operations moving forward, and we're letting the public have a shot at the wants, have their vote with the wants.
Okay. Next we got Ben Johnson.
I apologize, I thought it was just a sign-in sheet.
You're in the drawing also for sleeping later on, according to Joe. I like that. That's a good answer. All right. Dana, do you think it was a sign-in sheet also? All right. Dana Sipple was also in there. These are the only individuals that signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Rob?
I didn't see the sign-up sheet, so I'll...
Rob, of anybody in the building, you should know how to fill out a sign-up sheet.
Well, I had the pleasure of being on the board when we built this high school. Kind of makes me sick to my stomach to know it's already paid off, because this was on our wish list, stuff like this. We have we probably got in the archives in the office someplace of our original thoughts of what we should build. It was way different than this, but we came to this, and it was a beautiful school. And we said at that time, well, we'll just address it in the future when we need this or that or that way. Well, here it is. You did a responsible presentation. I love the design. Larry, did you say there's no displacement at all?
Not of the students. When the CT wing is complete, they will move from the old wing and out on the highway and into the CTE wing. So we won't have to go out and find classrooms for them while this construction is being
Last time it was a disaster, not a disaster, but it was a lot of work to move kids around churches and different things, and we got through it. That's a key to this design. The money, yeah, 2%. What was it last time we did the high school, 4%? Granted, materials were a lot cheaper, so that was what I said about. I wish we would have did it then. That's neither here nor there. Just want to say I support the decisions.
Thanks, Rob. And just to follow up a little bit, the CT students would not be displaced, and if we do it, if we time it out right, nor would the wrestlers. If we were to move forward, it wouldn't be until the next spring, and I'm saying the day after AAU state wrestling, we would tear into that wing, tear into the demo, tear into that bit of a remodel, and hope to have it done by that November, December. They might have to have a few practices somewhere else, but I think by December, if we gave March to December, we could have that wrestling facility complete with minimal disruption to their program.
I like the thoughts, but good.
Anybody else want to speak? That's all that I had. Sign up. Jim?
First time seeing it, so I thought I'd come and look. I like the no displacement. I like all that. Original high school we tore down was what, 1903 or something, wasn't it? We're saving the wrestling room, I see, and you've got moisture levels and stuff that are addressing it to concern with. Little question, I guess, that's got to be a 1903 original building.
1929. 39.
Okay.
It's a work progress administration.
So, the only question I guess I have is why would we be doing additions and designs and adding on and trying to save where we know our boiler's at? I've personally been down in that wrestling room. Huge, huge moisture area down there. Is it the right way to go to tie on to a 1939 building with all new?
Well, that's in the eye of the beholder.
We're not tying on to that with anything new.
Isn't the piece in the middle going to be saved?
If we don't do anything else, if let's say that a group gets together and we go to a bond issue, Jim, and the voters say no, then we're going to do a selective demo of the 50s wing around that 1939 edition, and we're going to save that structure. We would fix the moisture issues, and we would do, say, a floor heat or something, at minimal cost to heat just that specific piece of the building. Now, that's the exact comments that the public committee made to us the other night. They said, why would you guys invest in this old building? Let's build new. Simple answer, we can't afford it. So we're going to go with this remodel unless the voters tell us to do something different. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yep. When I saw it, I thought it's a little odd to be tying all those pieces into what would be tentatively the oldest piece of the entire school. No, and I had one other question, but Tom covered that, which I didn't know when the other debt's paid off, so.
Any other comments?
Just because the debt paid off, we're going to dump back into it. I've been here as long as most of you, and boilers been put off for way, way, way too long. What would happen if it would go off? What would you do at school in March? There's where, if everybody's thinking ahead, that's one place where nobody thought ahead. That does need to be, some heating system does need to be replaced.
Distance learning.
We would have to go to a distance learning.
Well, and that idea, no. Then you should have had it, not speaking just you guys, but that problem should have been addressed and fixed. I know guys that worked on it for 20 years that said that for 20 years it should have been fixed.
The problem is what's the fix? We need steam heat and hot water. See, there's two problems there. We do have a spare boiler down there, but it's only hot water, correct?
Yes.
It's only hot water. We have a spare hot water boiler down there. Now, if our boiler were to go out, it might take a week to plumb it in, but we're only going to be able to heat the portion of the building that takes the hot water.
So that's all fine, and I agree. And I agree that does need to be fixed or replaced. Some sort of a heat, whatever you use. Maybe you want to use solar, I don't know. But when you talk about the new wing, which probably is a good idea, but scaling down, when I was in school, we had over 100 students per class. Now you're talking 30, 35, 40 maybe. We didn't have a building like this. Walk through the hallways and look at them other classrooms. Every wing is new. And you're having a 60% discount on students. How many students are you going to have in here using your new wing? Why can't they be used like where you're using them now? Remodel that.
We don't own that.
I mean, it doesn't take much to drive up and down Main Street. See how many businesses are gone, how many empty lots there are. Go on the highway, how many businesses aren't there. Like I said, we got by with over 100 students per class. Now you're down, and is it going to grow dramatically? That's a good question.
Thank you, Dave. I mean, I respect what you're saying. I mean, I wish we did have 100 students. I know that. What's that?
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I know the class you're talking about. my aunt's class.
We thought this was the end of the world if we had a building just like this, and I don't know the rest of it.
I agree. Again, I agree with you. We wish we had the 100 students. We wish we had a lot of things back then. I wish we still had Day County TV and appliance. I wish we still had Super Value. I wish we still had JD's ice cream. There are numerous things I wish we still had in Webster. I agree. I grew up here. I'm not as old as you, but I've loved this community. But unfortunately, things change. I wish for those things, but I also look at the pluses. I know that when I grew up, we didn't have Dave's Marine like we do here today. We didn't have Haler Automotive, Northland to what we have today. The construction companies, whether it be Foothills next to you, whether it be Webster Scale, whether it be the different companies that we have rolling, I mean, there's so much more construction opportunities. The lakes are different. Our communities are changing. And what we have to remember is, the most important thing is, my kids have graduated, Marty's kids have graduated, Larry's have definitely graduated. Joel's are a few years in the making. I mean, he could probably work on a couple more, would help those numbers out. And Aaron has got, sorry Alyssa, I didn't notice you were here. That's my mistake. I'll buy you a beverage later. And Aaron's kids are coming through. It's about the future. I don't know what the next 10, 20, 30 years is going to bring. I don't think any of us 20 years ago thought that Amazon would be delivering everything to our door because we all would have invested in that stock and been multimillionaires and donated money. None of us know. But all we can do is make the decisions that are at hand with the best information that we have available. It's going to be a tough call. And none of us on board can guarantee what the future may hold. None of us. So I respect what you're saying. We just got to do our best. All right, Caleb?
I've heard reports of other schools possibly wanted to co-op with Webster at one point. There's been like a speculation of what, that they kind of didn't want to because of the possibility of upgrades and things out of that. We heard of that, and how would you address that if that went on?
Well, I would tell you, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob Knight, who was on the board, I think at the time Bristol took place. Obviously Mark Hansen was on the board at the time in Roslyn, at the time that consolidation took place. There were conversations. We have been very open, anybody that's been on this board with Wabe, if they ever wanted to co-op with us on anything. Wabe has not been looking to consolidate, and I would never ever speak on that. But we've always opened our doors to help co-op with them with the CTE program and sports, I think from dogs, football, all the way through.
Oh, egg, all of our
Egg, everything, all of our CTE. So that's Wabe. Roslyn, that's not an issue. Obviously, they did co-op, combine with us. Bristol, that ship set sail 15, 16 years ago. 04? 17 years ago. Groton's not going anywhere. Langford did ask if we were interested in co-oping with them with football. I actually heard back that we made the best presentation to them. They decided not to co-op with anybody. One of the reasons why they're not going to co-op with us is just distance, timing, and they want to keep their football program. Good for them. Britain, they're not co-op. They're not combining with us. Sisseton, they're not. Florence isn't. Clark's not. So I got to be honest with you, I don't think there's any communities that are looking to combine with the city of Webster. I don't think the Webster School District is going to grow anytime soon other than what is internal within our own district.
What does like a need to do so? What if Webster needs to co-op at some point? What if you have like such a declining population, let's say 5, 10 years down the road? How are you going to compensate?
Well, it's interesting you would say that. How many students were in Roslyn when you guys finally decided to co-op? Consolidate. How many students were?
About 103, 4, somewhere in there.
103, 104. Bristol, I know, was down the same number. 100. Langford's at 150. So, if we lose 400 students out of our current 534, yeah, I'd agree with you. We got a problem. But if we lose 400 students, I'm going to respectfully submit, Caleb, we've lost, well, just about everybody in this gym. I mean, that the community's left at that point in time.
Fishing got bad.
Fishing got bad. We're not down to that point in time. We're not looking to consolidate. And I just don't see that happening. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a what if, and I got to be honest here, I see that what if is, I got a better chance of being president than that happening. That's not going to happen, with all due respect. I think we're going to be around, and to be honest again, if our board's not thinking about being around in the next 30 to 40 years, we're not doing our job right. Because we owe that to, I mean, I do see people in this room that are 22, 23 years old. We should be making decisions for their generation of kids coming up. We got to be thinking about that. All right, anybody else that had a comment that they wanted to make tonight? Okay. Gentlemen with the board, anything else you guys have? Okay. If not, you know, one thing I'd like to close with, first of all, I really do appreciate everybody for coming tonight. These are hot issues. It's tough. The best tax is the tax that your neighbor pays. The best tax is the tax that you don't pay. We're talking about taxpayer dollars. This board gets it. We hear from you. We read the paper. We follow the letters to the editor. We follow what our patrons say. But what it comes down to it is, this is about the future. And I want everybody to understand when they leave tonight, what we're talking about in phase one, not 1 cent. We're not raising 1 cent in taxes. We can do this on the exact same amount we requested from the taxpayers last year and the year before. That's because we are being fiscally conservative and being smart with our money. At the same time, I hope that there is a group out there, as Roland said, Performing Arts Center, it's a need. It's a need. But it's a need that the community needs to vote on. A new wrestling room, as wrestlers were at our school board meeting, they got great ideas. I like it all. Again, the community needs to vote on that. Auxiliary gym space, I hope that those groups get together and figure out a way to come back and work with us and put it to a vote of the people in the future. People can get a thumbs up and thumbs down on that point in time. But tonight, as we sit here about the needs of the community and our future, it comes down to CT. And we can do it. We're all Bearcats here. We're all Webster fans. We all want to see our community do well. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's not easy. I think that no matter what, everyone in here will still walk out friends, and still have good futures together. With that being said, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is Wednesday, December 15th at 7 p.m., our regularly scheduled board meeting. Correct, Lori? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Aaron. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Joel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks for coming, folks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.